Hello everyone, today we are breaking down the weeks ahead trailer for House of the Dragon Season 2, but before that remember to like the video, helps out the channel a lot, and subscribe, and yada yada yada, let's get to it. The first thing we see is Aegon losing his mind, screaming, "I'll kill them, and I declare war." So this is from the aftermath of episode 1, where we got our blood and cheese moment where they did what Daemon told them to do. A son for a son. They got revenge for the Blacks and killed Jaehaerys, the firstborn son and heir to Aegon, which is why we see Aegon screaming and wanting revenge. Before this happened, there was still a small hope on the green side that the Blacks would lay down their arms and proclaim Aegon king. Now the Greens want war and revenge, as much as the Blacks do, so this will be quite a bloody conflict. We're now with Rhaenyra on Dragonstone with her war council. She is telling Daemon that he has wounded her, and has weakened her claim to the throne, that she cannot trust him. So Daemon sent blood and cheese on his own. He never got leave to do it from Rhaenyra. All she said was that she wanted Aemond. Now some would say that was enough for Daemon to do what he did, but he still did not get direct permission to send the cutthroats, which undermines Rhaenyra's rule. People need to know she is in charge, not Daemon. The next scene we see a couple of other houses getting into it, pushing each other. The ones in the gold are from House Bracken. We see their sigil displayed here, the red stallion. The other people are from House Blackwood. We can tell this by the colors they are wearing. These houses already hated each other from the get-go, dating back to the Age of Heroes. You may recall from Season 1 that members of each house actually got into a fight at Storm's End when Rhaenyra was looking for a husband, and one died. So it's safe to say they will most likely not be on the same side when war comes. In the next shot, we see a bunch of bodies on a beach. We see a shield and a sigil. This is House Darkland. In the background, we see that House Hightower was responsible for this. House Darkland is from the Crownlands, and their seat, Duskendale, is a port city. They must have declared for the Blacks, and got the Greens' wrath. Duskendale is relatively close to Dragonstone, and would allow the Blacks easy access to the mainland. Super close to King's Landing, so of course the Greens couldn't let that happen. So they acted quickly and got control of it. In the next shot, we hear Alicent speaking about the war, and how it is inevitable now, that people from both sides will believe what they will. But Viserys, her late husband, intentions died with him. So she is talking about why Viserys decided to name Aegon heir on his deathbed. Like she is kind of blaming him almost for everything that has happened, even though she was the one who misunderstood what he was talking about. He was not talking about having Aegon sit the throne, he was talking about Aegon the Conqueror's prophecy. In the next shot, we see Aemond strategizing, making war plans. Remember, he is the one who studied history and practiced with the sword. He is basically living his dream right now. And with Aegon now wanting war, he has basically let Aemond off his leash. They are going to meet the enemy now, instead of sitting and waiting at King's Landing. We get a shot of Vhagar flying over an army here as well. Vhagar is Aemond's dragon and the largest dragon in the show. In the next scene, we get our first look at House Frey and the twins. So we get to see some more familiar houses we saw in Game of Thrones. The bridge they have is very important. If the Northmen want to go south and meet up with the Blacks will need to make Frey an ally. Obviously, there are other ways to cross the Green Fork, but this would be by far the quickest. Especially with a large host. We see Jacaerys Velaryon treating with House Frey here on the bridge. He seems to be the guy for the Blacks when it comes to making allies, since he has gotten the Vale and the North to come to their side. In the next scene, we see Criston Cole, and he is telling the small council that the Riverlands are the key to this war, and that Harrenhal is the key to the Riverlands. So the Riverlands have a bunch of different houses, which means more men to add to their armies. Whoever can get some of the Riverlords to their side will have quite the advantage. Now, none of the Riverlords have connections really with either side, so it's a real toss-up who they would declare for. That is why Criston says Harrenhal is the key to the Riverlands, because whoever can get Harrenhal under their possession first will have a foothold there. The Riverlords will flock to them, because of fear. The Riverlords don't have many defenses against dragons, so they're not going to defy whoever controls Harrenhal with the risk of having their castles destroyed. It is why we heard Daemon mention it in the first episode. It is also why we see Daemon land his dragon Craxes on top of one of the towers at Harrenhal. From previous trailers, we have seen Daemon lurking around Harrenhal in a rainstorm. He wants to take it for reasons I just said, but it will also give the Blacks a good base of operations on the mainland, somewhere they can gather their troops and prepare for war. Harrenhal is the largest castle in Westeros, which means it could hold a sizable host. It can also be defended quite easily. We see Daemon having dinner with the Castellan of Harrenhal, basically telling him to give him the castle or be burned alive. In the next shot, we see Hugh Hammer, getting a lot more backstory than I thought we were going to get of him, to be honest. He was in episode 1 asking for advancement and pay to finish the Scorpions for King Aegon. We see Mysaria and Rhaenyra speaking with one another. Mysaria is telling Rhaenyra there is more than one way to fight a war. So Mysaria is kind of saying, hey, yes, you need to win battles and whatnot. But if you plant seeds of discourse in King's Landing, cause these small folk to riot and whatnot, that also helps you. It makes the Greens have another thing to worry about. We then see a City Watch member tear down some posters of a black Targaryen sigil. So as I said, Mysaria wants to spread propaganda and discourse through King's Landing, get these small folk on Rhaenyra's side. In the next scene, we get an argument between Otto and Aegon. Aegon does not want to seem weak, and Otto says people already see him that way. Criston tells Otto to beware of how he speaks to the king. So Aegon wants to go to war, to ride upon his dragon Sunfire and get revenge for the death of his son. Otto wants to wait, to gather their full force. There is no reason to rush into this, they need to be calculated. So he tried putting his grandson in his place to make him back down, but it is pretty hard to do when your grandson also happens to be the king. So tensions are rising within the Greens. We get a shot of Baela Targaryen riding her dragon Moondancer. This will be at the Battle of Rook's Rest, which will be one of the big battles we will see this season. We saw Rhaegar there from an earlier shot as well. In the books, Baela was not at this battle, so I'm curious what is going to be happening with her during it. In this shot, we see Alicent and Helaena during a bit of a riot in King's Landing. They are wearing black veils, so this might be happening during the funeral procession of Jaehaerys. In the next scene, we have Corlys Velaryon getting mad with the rest of the Black Council. He thinks they are too power-hungry, which is kind of funny coming from him since he was the one trying so hard to get his blood on the Iron Throne. But he is aged, and he realizes that the chase for power is a dangerous one. It could cost you everything. It cost him his children. In the next shot, we see Criston and Alicent making out. So it is true they have been having an affair, though for how long, it's hard to say. Did this just start happening since Viserys died, or longer? All I know is I hate Alicent even more now. She made such a fuss over Rhaenyra and Harwin, and for her to be doing the same thing? Also, Criston cried like a baby when Rhaenyra wanted to keep him as a paramour, but for Alicent, it's fine? Makes no sense. We get our first look at Aegon in full armor. He is ready to go to battle, on top of his dragon Sunfire, which is said to be the most beautiful dragon ever seen. We get a bunch more shots of the Battle of Rook's Rest. We also see riots happening in King's Landing. There may be a food shortage. We see Hugh punching someone out for lettuce. We see one of the Lannisters in a mud wrestling competition, it looks like. It's Thailand. He seems to be in a very tropical area, so I'm not sure where this is. He could be in the Free Cities, hoping to get someone from Essos to help the Greens in this war. Small detail here, but Alicent is giving Criston Cole her favor. And our final scene is of Criston Cole stating that they have given the war to the dragons, which means there will be fire and blood. And that is the end of the trailer. What did you think of it? Leave it down in the comments below. And if you want more House of Dragon content, please subscribe and like the video. Check out the Twitter link in the description below. And as always, have an awesome day.